defense. I'm sure there's something that gives us that. I'm just not familiar, but regardless, good win. And the most heartening thing that I'll also say and let you touch on it too is Kyrie was a leader.
Yep.
He started the game, addressing the crowd with a little bit of weirdness. I don't know what he was trying to say with that. But I'm glad he has pride in his ethnicity and showing for that and saluting the Chinese a New Year or the lunar calendar a New Year. It's dope to have a multicultural team and have all of this inclusivity in the sense of Joe Tsai is from a completely different country and makes a lot of money in that country and brings that here. Actually, he's from here, but
yeah.
But just to be more than just your standard issued salute the flag, pledge of allegiance stuff. We're a melting pot of a city. We're a melting pot of a country, and I'm glad our team represented that. And I'm especially glad that Kyrie took this personally, and he came out here to play, and he balled out. He was the man. What you think of Kyrie?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was. I mean, look, I think he's clearly proving that he's in a lot of ways he's the engine of this team. Like when it's not functioning well, the team seems a little bit discombobulated, and when he's totally on his game, it's just a completely different team. And when he's like really, really engaged, especially with his teammates. For me, it's a lot of the little stuff with him.
Yeah.
That clearly just gets everybody up because I think when you have a guy like that he's definitely like unbelievably bright. But he's also like an emotional guy, and I'm not saying
sensitive.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sensitive
Nothing
guy.
wrong with that.
But I think what that does, which is both good and bad, is I think it probably does keep the team a little bit on edge because they don't know if he's gonna like kind of be feeling a certain way about something that maybe they're not even like well read on. Who knows what?
Yeah.
But look, I mean, it's clear that like when he's locked and loaded on with basketball, like the team just moves at a different pace. By the way, the other thing I wanted to say, which I think is a small thing that I was going to say yesterday, but me and you were just we were too upset about everything else we saw. The very, very small, I'm going to say like a very oxymoronic statement, the very, very small sleeping giant in a lot of this, from what I've seen the last couple of days, or last couple of games at least, is Shamit's definitely getting comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's with him it's physical because I know he had like a really, really like terrible COVID experience. Or if it's just confidence or what, or maybe he had a talk with Nash, whatever it is. But he's moving differently. Like even with the ball in his hands, he's moving differently around screens. He just looks more comfortable shooting. He doesn't look like he's pressing. He to me is like what we've seen the last couple of games with him is he's equivalent to a guy that's in like a batting slump, and like first you start seeing him like actually take some nice cuts that are just foul tips. And before you know it, like he's actually like hitting singles, and that's basically what he's doing right now. Like he's moving form.
So what I've seen, I think a couple of adjustments that Nash made to help spring Shamit. They stopped forcing him at small forward. He's not a small forward. He's a shooting guard.
And he's light. You can't.
Yeah, it's. I always call it the equivalent of taking body blows when these smaller players are on these big players. It just wears them out.
Yep.
And Nash recognizes the Nets have a size problem, and he's not. He has very little that he can do to actually change it, but he's looking at the guys who are suffering and kind of switching them down. Now, it is not the best that Tyler Johnson is getting small forward minutes. He played 20 minutes. He played more minutes than Shamit today. He wasn't very good, but he played the shooting guard role, and weirdly, um, I guess because they emptied the bench with him, but they played for a little bit there. They played Pele with Vonleh. We got a quick glimpse of Vonleh. Like,
Yeah,
I
fine.
was like, "What is this? The Nets bench big teams or
I know.
the stay ready big team? I guess I don't know." Anyway, man. I look, good game. Let's accept the good feelings. Let's share the good feelings with the fan base, and let's move forward. Let's do our three things and get the hell out of here.
Let's do it.
So, who was your player that was the consummate player that told the story of this game?
I mean, look, I'm gonna make it simple and just go with Kyrie just for I don't want to be repetitive, just for what we've all been saying. He's the engine. I mean, I have to tell you, I think he's also in like the best shape I've ever seen him in. I
Yeah.
don't know, like at times it was funny. At times earlier in the year, I thought he was like almost like sick looking. He was so thin, but
Hmm.
he just looks like he's just moving like so much different, and his hang time in the air is like crazy. Like he's just up there for so even on that like he had that lefty finger roll that he then left his left hand up, kind of doing like what Steph does when
Yeah.
makes that move. Like he was in the air for a while on that finger roll. Like he jumped from pretty far away and extended, and to the point where it was almost like a dunk. But I mean, he's looking good, man. He's just gotta.
Could
As
it
long,
be possible that Kyrie is the MVP of the Nets, but by the end of the season, Kevin Durant is the MVP of the league?
it's honestly it's a great point. I think it's very possible.
Yeah, it's the way I see it. I when I watch Kevin Durant on the floor with everyone, I mean, sometimes it's just passive, sometimes he's just letting his other teammates get busy. But Kevin Durant is obviously the best player on the team, but the most important player is Kyrie Irving, and he showed that tonight because James Harden wasn't good tonight. James Harden looks better on numbers wise because he was 10 of 10 from the free throw line, but he was 1 for 6 for three, 4 for
Yeah,
13
I
for the
thought you were
entire game. His
bad.
defense wasn't very good.
Nope.
Um,
He looked slow.
he looks fat.
Yep.
Um,
Heavy. He's tripping over himself. Like
there was a play where who was it that stole the ball from him?
Brogdon.
Yeah, Brogdon just picked his pocket,
Yep.
and it made him look silly. And the other thing is, Kyrie yelled at him because he was starting to hold the ball. He doesn't have to do the things. The thing that we're gonna see with Harden is, and Harden is a miraculous player. He's amazing. He's a great player. But the thing with Harden is, one, he's a little bit. It's a little bit OD having Harden. The Nets would have won tonight if you swap Harden out for, shoot, I don't know, Karras.
Yeah. I
You
was
know,
about to say Garris.
it
Yeah.
it it wouldn't have been it would have been much of a difference. And sometimes I just feel like it's just it's just too much. Kyrie could have let us this, and he did. Kyrie carried this team, and Harden and Brown didn't have the most impressive game. Brown was pesky, but he wasn't great either. Nonetheless, my player for tonight has to be DeAndre Jordan.
Yep.
It wasn't a good game. He got 10 rebounds. He was physical, but he showed a pulse, man, and it must be hard for those guys. You got idiots like me on Twitter saying you're finished, and you're fighting for your basketball mortality. You're fighting to be a big part of a big team for one last time. And I want him to prove me wrong. I want him to be that player that he was before. He's just not. This is like a best case scenario DeAndre Jordan. When Iron Eagle said this was his second double double, it hit me like a ton of bricks because that's what DeAndre Jordan is supposed to do: get 10 points, 10 rebounds, and tonight his 12 points, like we haven't seen him play very good. 12 points, 13 rebounds tonight look like a wonder. I wanted to say Joe Harris because Joe Harris was very good. He gave us 17. 3 for 7 for 3, but he was good in and around the basket. 6 of 11 field goal wise, and 17 points. But DeAndre Jordan was who the Nets fans were all clapping for on Twitter and hyped to see do well. But this is the very best of DeAndre Jordan. I think this is a and they kind of let him off the hook in the sense of they didn't, the Pacers just didn't go to the paint. There's stuff going on with those guys, and not having Oladipo is going to hurt them. I wonder if they're going to start to become a tanking team because it looks like they're rebuilding or they're hitting the reset button there. But it's hard to do with a guy as good as Sabonis. Your stat of the night, Sam. What you got for me?
I'm going to do the team stat that I mentioned earlier, which was that the Nets showed today that even if they don't shoot well, shooting 42% from the field, under 30% from three, they can still win if they're playing good D. And to me that kind of tells the story of the fact that they can play like normal kind of basketball we're used to seeing, or that even we saw in like the early 2000s without scoring 130 points. So nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they played great defense tonight because again, Indiana shot 38 threes. We only shot 31. They only got 40 points in the paint. We got 44. My stat of the night is and I want to keep us focused as a Nets fan community on this points in the paint thing because I went back, I screen capped a few of them, shared them with a couple cats on Twitter. Shout out to Henry. Hank, what up, man? Like, he stays on me. That guy, I love him. But they were lazy. They hacked us. We shot 35 free throws. That also is an important stat that probably is more important than points in the paint tonight. But points in the paint is what has troubled the Nets. And on this West Coast trip that's coming up, we're going to find out a lot about that. If you want to jump shoot with the Nets, you will lose. You try to outscore us, you will lose. But if you take it to the hole on us and you play physical with us, we have problems. And maybe some of that was solved with some of the zone that I saw Nash running. I don't think so. But if you could force teams into getting into jump shooting contests against the Nets, if that's the plan, I think it's an all right plan. I'd like to see if it'll work. And I think the zone can help with that. These aren't good on-ball defenders. So put them in a zone. It's legal in the NBA now. Just you can't rely on it. I almost like that they ran no zone up until the last couple of games. They tried it maybe once or twice in Detroit, and then in this game they went to it a few times. They're forming a picket fence around in the paint with as many players as they want, and the gang rebound, which I hate. I hate the gang rebounding because when you have three players under the basket gang rebounding, it's harder to run.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I digress. We won the points in the paint. We won the game, and every time this season that we've won the points in the game, we've won the game. To me, that's a better thing than the concept of playing down to opponents. These young teams can't shoot. They know they can't shoot, so they go to the basket on the Nets. And that's what all the teams in the top 5, except for the Lakers, because we haven't played them yet. But all the teams in the top 5 or top 6 of paint points are young teams, and Indiana. So